Subscapularis.
Alright, subscapularis, how do you know that?
That's what she said.
So, anterior side of the chest, right? We're looking at.
Yeah, that's better.
I'm looking, basically through the thorax. I'm looking through the thorax. Anterior side of the scapula, and I see the subscap. Okay? What's the subscap do? Right? Internal rotation or medial rotation, right? What's that? Like an adduction of the arm. Okay. What's nerve supply? Subscapular nerve. There's actually a couple different. There's like a medial and lateral, medial lateral, maybe subscap nerve. But you don't need to necessarily be able to see those as smaller branches, but they are branches of the brachial plexus, right? So if you're looking for, nerve roots to blame, then you would call it to be what? Somewhere in the C5 to T1, right? Because it's brachial plexus, and those are the nerve roots, right? So, in any event. And since we're up here in the shoulder, right, we know deltoid is like C5, so that means that we're probably with these nerves, probably the C5, C6 as we go down, right? So it kind of makes sense. All right. What's the vascular supply?
Scapulary. The subscapulary up the axillary.
Artery, right? I asked you that because the subscapular artery is where?
The axillary.
It's coming off the axillary, and it is in what segment?
Second.
So, no, second segment, but the third segment,
Third?
right? Third segment, because it's the first artery of the third segment, the second two arteries, the last two arteries of the third segment are
Circumflex.
anterior and posterior circumflex, right? So it goes subscap, and then the circumflex arteries, and that's how we get our, that's the third segment of the axillary, right? So any of that, so that's our subscap. Be able to recognize this on, on your 2D films as well. Right? So if you look at this, like,
How?
Let's do that. So how are we going to tell what we're looking at here? Right? What if this is, this was the view you're given? Right? Yeah, you got to orient yourself right? Obviously. So let's look at the. If we're thinking something in the, we know it's something in the axilla, upper arm, pectoral girdle. So we're probably, one way to kind of tell whether we're anterior or posterior is going to be looking at which plane.
No.
Sagittal, for
Probably.
me, this one's a little bit harder than
No, you look at the axillary.
Coronal, right? You look at the coronal plane, because what's the coronal plane doing?
Correct.
It's a frontal plane, right? So I'm looking at that frontal plane, and I can see things, if you kind of orient yourself, you can see, what's this?
Here's towards the back, basically.
What's this? Well, even if you don't know that specific part, we know that this is bone, and so what bone is that?
The scapula.
Right? So I know scapula. I'm not seeing all the scapula. I'm only seeing part of it, right? And am I seeing the anterior, the posterior part? Well, one way you can know that is, what is this here?
Supraspinatus.
Right? And so, if that's the supraspinatus, then the supraspinatus sits in the supraspinatus fossa, right? Which the spine is made up on the what?
Posterior.
Right? So you have kind of this anterior aspect that's kind of like a little blade, right? And then you've got this posterior kind of spine, right? So we know that the supraspinatus, it sits kind of in the groove, if you will, between kind of the two little spiny parts of my scapula. So if this is supraspinatus, I can see that this must be posterior, right? This must be anterior. And so I'm below, right, the anterior aspect of the scapula, so that's going to be my subscapulus. I can also look over here, my axial plane, right? In the axial plane, we see the scapula here, right? And I can clearly see that I am on the anterior aspect of the scapula. Right? And so then it's just a matter of determining, okay, is this suprascapular is it, or, you know, the supraspinatus is this, you know, subscap, and so we're looking, what would you look for here? If this was the only view you had, what would you look for to determine whether you're looking at the supraspinatus, right, or which would run kind of in that same plane, or the subscap?
Long.
What's that?
Long.
Long, yeah, that, I mean, long is definitely helpful, yeah. I mean, you know, even though we haven't done chest yet, I mean, yeah, look at other things, right? So you see the long there, all right, you can see, you know, you can see some of these back muscles. We clearly see deltoid, we see humerus. We know I'm down here somewhere in either the like surgical neck to diaphysis of the humerus, right? Because I don't see the big ball up there for that ball and socket joint, so I've got to be down below that. So if I'm down below that, I'm probably not supraspinatus, because supraspinatus inserts where?
On the
Greater tubercle, right? Which I'd have to see the head of the humerus to see that. So that obviously that can't be, you know, what I'm looking at, right? But if I do come up here to the supraspinatus, you can see that it kind of is oriented in the same plane, right? It looks like it's kind of running the same, you know, the same kind of direction. So how would I, you know, if you're looking at the axial, what are some things that give this away as supraspinatus that's not subscapular?
clavicle.
Right, clavicle, you can see a little part of the clavicle, that's definitely good. What else? You can see kind of both sides of kind of like the superior portion of the scapula, right? Kind of like both little blades, you know, both little kind of spines up here above the blade. What else? Can you see arm, your humerus?
No.
No, so I don't see humerus and stuff, which means I'm above that or below it, right? I'm not below it because I still got neck over here, so I'm definitely not below it. So I'm above the humerus, and so, you know, where's the subscap insert? We just said that the supraspinatus inserts on the greater tubercle, where's the subscap insert?
That's it.
We're not looking for like a specific name, you just kind of know where it goes, right? Yeah, to basically kind of the head of the humerus, right? In that area. So I can't be subscap if I'm not seeing head of humerus, right? I don't even see any humerus, right? So I must be above that. Okay. Supraspinatus innervated by what? That's not a rhetorical question, but it is the same. It is the same answer. And, you know, the question is answered. The supraspinatus nerve, right, which is also off the pores, like the plexus, or supraspinatus.
CAT1 probably.
Because it does do more than just the supraspinatus. But all right, so what's its function? What's its action?
Shoulder.
Right, yeah, there's first 15, 20 degrees or so of the abduction of the shoulder. Okay. Who takes over after that?
Deltoid.
Deltoid. Right? What's the vascular supply? If you had to kind of guess. Going back to that axillary artery.
Superior thoracic.
You probably do get portions of it off of that, but that's not the one thing. Think about where this is sitting. That, the acromio.
Thoracoacromial.
Yeah, that's what I think it's thoracic.
I don't know any of this. I haven't
Got
started.
a thoracoacromial, right? So, you know, but it probably does get, I'm not saying it's
Yeah, same here.
probably does get some blood supply.
I was like happy just this week. Yeah.
Scapular as well. Anyway, just thinking about the name,
A little bit. That's right. A
thoracoacromial,
little
we got
bit.
one that's going, one artery or one part inch that must be going over towards the acromion, and that is supplying, you know, in the direction of the acromion. So, it must be getting some of this blood supply from there. What segment is that in?
Two.
Second segment, right, of the axillary artery. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. What about? Let's see if this one let me do that now. No. There we go. The what? No.
Subclavius?
What's that?
Subclavius?
Yeah, so where's it sit? Right underneath the clavicle, right? So it's the subclavius, right? So that's the subclavius muscle. You can see it pretty well in the coronal that it does sit like literally right underneath the clavicle, right? So that's the subclavius muscle. Okay. Let's see here, right? All right, now what are we dealing with?
This one, yes.
A little harder to see like in the coronal on this one because you kind of see several muscles. That one's a little harder, right? But you can see, definitely orient yourself in the axial plane on this one. You see the spine,
That's your spine. Yeah.
scapula here, right?
And it's not.
So
because
this
you're
right here
above
would
the
be
humerus.
supraspinatus. This one here is my this is on the here's my
Teres minor.
side there. So this one over here would be somewhere in the area of, and it's hard to it'd be hard to tell. But this, in other words, which way is anterior, which way is posterior? And this is anterior up here. So this is on the posterior aspect of the scapula, the infraspinatus. Right? That's the infraspinatus. Okay. So there's my infraspinatus. All right. Let's see here. Yes, ma'am. So how do we know that this is the posterior side? Or of course, if you had more picture, that would be a little bit easier because we can like trachea and esophagus, that kind of helps people away. But if we don't have that much, we only have this. Alright. So one is we can see the clavicle right here, yeah. We can also see the humerus. Right? We know if this is the humeral head, we know that it's going to, the humerus articulates with the glenoid, right?
Glenoid.
The glenohumeral joint is oriented kind of obliquely, right? Where it's obliquely this way, right? And so, right, humerus we know is on, if we even just looking at it or feeling, we know it's more on the humeral head.
Anterior.
Anterior side than posterior. So if this is the orientation of that glenohumeral joint, then this side where the humeral head is must be more anterior, right? And and this is of course we can see a scapula. Right? Yep. All right. Let's see here. What about? What we have here. Right, so we can see, if you look at all, all through the planes, we can see humerus and axial, but that doesn't really tell me exactly where I'm at. Right, but if I look at these other two planes, I can see humeral head, right, here in my sagittal. I can see humeral head in the coronal plane. And so, where does this muscle seem to be going? Is it going like to the rotator cuff? No. Below that, it seems to be going either
Clavicle.
from or going to somewhere kind of on, the below the head of the humerus, right, towards the diaphysis.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of gives me some clues, right? I can see in my, I can see really in both the sagittal and the coronal planes kind of the orientation of those fibers. They seem to be longitudinal, like going up and down, right? I can see part of my clavicle right over here, right? Or maybe part of the clavicle. That's clavicle. So that's part of the coracoid, right? And so I see acromion, I see clavicle. Those muscle fibers seem to be oriented in this direction, right? Kind of going up and down. So thinking kind of the medial aspect of the arm, right? Coming from somewhere up here in the axilla to insert down here on the humerus. Right? We've only got two options. Right? It's going to be either my biceps or my coracobrachialis. It's the only two that it could be, right? So how do you know it's not biceps besides the fact that you know we see those? Right? But they're going to be. We don't see. You know, there's no long head, short head, right? They would be more on kind of the anterior to lateral aspect of the arm, coming up here towards the head, and so medial aspect, right, of the arm. You know, kind of within, coming from the axilla down here to the arm, that's the coracobrachialis. Right? The coracobrachialis. Now, innervated by
muscular
you can't
cutaneous.
tell by now, I'm much more interested in nerve than I am because nerve root really doesn't mean a whole lot, but
It's anterior compartment and be muscular
the
cutaneous.
anterior compartment. There is no medial compartment in the brachium, right? So it's
No.
either anterior,
Anterior,
posterior.
posterior.
So it's the anterior compartment of the brachium is innervated by the
Musculocutaneous.
cutaneous, so the muscular portion of the musculocutaneous, right?
Cool.
Very good. So there's my
Cool.
coracobrachialis. Okay. What about so? What about this? Not a whole lot of information here.
Yeah, I understand.
I would say probably the best way at least to begin to orient yourselves is look at that axial plane, which compartment is in. Anterior, posterior.
Posterior.
Posterior compartment, right? It's in the posterior compartment, right here, right? And the arm and the brachium, right? I can see the posterior compartment here is that brachial fascia, right? So I've got posterior compartment of the brachium, right? Then who am I going to be?
Triceps.
Triceps, right? So it's going to be two. You can see that there seems to be, at least in this view, you can see it's like two parts, right? So I just clicked on two of them anyway. There's two of the heads of the triceps. Right? What does triceps mean?
3 heads.
3 heads, right? So muscles have all different types of shapes, right? They can be like rectus or sheaths, right? They could be like these where they have multiple heads, right? So they're usually called something, biceps, triceps, etc. And those are usually referred to as being, either bipinnate or tripinnate muscles, right? So different shapes, right, to these muscles, but nonetheless, this one is the triceps, which means it has 3 heads to it, right? 3 heads, but kind of one body, right, if you will. How many points of insertion are there?
1.
One.
One, right? So just because it's a 3-headed muscle doesn't mean that it's going to have 3 legs, right? They do typically have kind of, even if they have multiple heads, they may fuse into one body and have one insertion. What's the point of having 3 different heads then?
Leverage.
Leverage, right? Increases leverage over a joint, right? So now we can pull from 3 different directions, right? So the biceps brachii, right? What is, so we have one head that comes up here in this head that comes over this way, it's going to insert in on the labrum.
Yeah.
What is that one called? What's that head called?
The long head.
And where does it go? It rides through the
Intertubercle groove.
intertubercular sulcus, intertubercular groove, bicipital groove, whatever you want to call it, right? Many names for the same thing. And so that's where we are. That's one head. And where's the other head going? That's going anteriorly, so it's going to be.
Clavicle? Is it?
No, sir.
No?
Where does that head go to? That head of the biceps goes over here to the.
No. Is it
That's that's going to be like where supraspinatus, something like that. It goes through the greater, between the greater and lesser tubercle, right? But that the other head is going to go over here to the coracoid.
Coracoid.
The coracoid process. So now think about what that means. We've got one head that's going up this way, right? And so if I'm to pull here, what's going to happen? If I'm, if I think about this as being a point where I'm going to get some leverage, and I'm, pulling up this way, right? That's going to give me. So some of that, you would, if it was just here in the shoulder, yes, it would be abduction, right, of the shoulder, right? But I know that I'm moving this joint, right? So that's where we get the origin insertion. But the fact that I've got one site that's originated here, right, and another site that's originated here, means what? If I have, a muscle that's basically oriented this way, right?
Yeah.
Diagonally
The
this way.
internal rotation.
And it's going to do something with the arm, right? What is it going to do?
Internally rotate.
It's going to internally rotate. In other words, it actually acts almost like a pronator,
Pronator.
right? The short head. The long head's going to act more like a
Supinator. Or
Flexor.
flexor.
So we kind of get
Sorry.
two different functions with one muscle. That's when we have multiple heads, right? Pretty neat. Okay, so let's go down through.